This is the reason I'm supposed to hate this Chinese app so much.
The most dangerous social media app.
Where Palestinians that have been here for generations are getting kicked out of their houses and can't walk on certain streets.
So I'll ignore the use of the term Palestinian since there is no such nation or people. It doesn't bother me at all.
Because now I have eyes all over the world.
How do you reconcile that with Palestinian citizens of Israel? Can they be equal to Jews?
No.
I get to see things I was never supposed to see.
For a cage only to them. They're basically encircled 350 degrees by a fence.
I get to understand things that I was never supposed to understand.
Center reports from Palestine, where men of the British Army and the Palestine police watched the arrival of a shipload of illegal Jewish immigrants at Haifa.
I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates River, and the Arabs wanted to chase all the Jews into the Red Sea. And what I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just with the Arabs.
And this is why I'm supposed to hate Joe Rogan so much.
So if you're a Palestinian and you live in Gaza, you're just stuck.
You're stuck forever. You have this mantra like, oh, they want to die. They raise their kids to be super bombers. No, when you're in Gaza, you are born dead.
This is why I'm supposed to hate your biggest enemy.
And after meeting with Bibi for 3 minutes, I looked at him and said, you don't want to make a deal, do you? And he said, well, and the fact is, I don't think Bibi ever wanted to make a deal.
Why?
I thought the Palestinians were impossible. The Israelis would do anything to make peace and a deal. I found that not to be true.
The following are the expanded clips. It takes very little time to watch, and it's a lot of good information.
That decision to recognize Israel was an easy one. I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris. I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates River, and the Arabs wanted to chase all the Jews into the Red Sea. And what I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just with the Arabs. But when you go into a thing of that kind, the people you help most are the ones that get most angry with you. Both of them were against me on the situation, but as President of the United States, I paid no attention to them, carried out what I thought was right, and I had the support of the Congress, and I could do it, which is unusual in these days.
Could you tell us specifically that a lot of Jewish people were against you, too?
Oh, well, there were a lot of Jewish people against me because they wanted the whole of Palestine. As I say, they wanted to drive all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
I was disappointed in Bibi just on a personal basis. When we have an election, that it was a rigged election, like a third world country election. I think it's a terrible personal trait. I haven't spoken to him since, right? I didn't talk to him. I thought he wanted to make a deal more than Netanyahu. And I will be honest, I had a great meeting with him, Abbas, right? I had a great meeting with him, and we spent a lot of time together, talked about many things, and it was almost like a father. I mean, he was so nice. Couldn't have been nicer. And after meeting with Bibi for 3 minutes, I looked at him and said, you don't want to make a deal, do you? And he said, well, and the fact is, I don't think Bibi ever wanted to make a deal.
Why?
I thought the Palestinians were impossible, and the Israelis would do anything to make peace and a deal. I found that not to be true.
Many of Hebron's settlers moved here from the United States. Sadio came from Brooklyn a few years ago. Does it bother you that you're living somewhere so heavily militarized where Palestinians that have been here for generations are getting kicked out of their houses and can't walk on certain streets?
So I'll ignore the use of the term Palestinian since there is no such nation or people. It doesn't bother me at all. Militarization is a thing happening all across the world. I'm not up to anything and nobody's invading my space for no reason. I don't care.
We are northwest of Jerusalem in a settlement called Giv'on HaDasha, which means the New Giv'on. Mm-hmm. And we have the Agraib family, Sabri Agraib, a Palestinian family that lives here. The settlement was basically developed to encircle it from all sides. And then in 2002, the Second Intifada, once they took a decision to build the separation barrier, the question was, what do you do with the Palestinian family that the settlement was built around it? And the answer was, you cut this family from the rest of their village and build a bridge over the separation barrier for a cage only to them. They're basically encircled 350 degrees by a fence, and this is what you see here, and linked through a gate to the rest of their village. And this is a gate that the Israeli police controls.
That's the gate.
Two cameras up there, not the one here, the rounded one there. Exactly. The police controls the gate. Something happens, whatever they want to close, they can shut down.
Settlements. Palestinian family.
This is basically the corridor how the Graeb family is connected from the house to their village, Betitza. Yeah, their family members, school, all the services. I think the story of the Graeb family here in the Palestinian village of Bet Ijza is just one example of still maybe a bit extreme in terms of how it looks like, but it's one example of the impact that the separation barrier has on life of Palestinians along the route. Yeah, the villages that were damaged and impacted by the separation barrier.
So if you're a Palestinian and you live in Gaza, you're just stuck.
You're stuck forever. And that's why these people are like, people from America, they're like, why, that's why you have this mantra like, oh, they want to die. They raise their kids to be suicide bombers. No, when you're in Gaza, you are born dead. You don't have a life. So that's why these people are giving up their lives to send a message to us. That's why they're doing this. That's the only reason they're doing this, is to send a message to us. Help us. That's all they can do, is use their bodies.
It's just terrifying to me. Forget
sad.
about whether it's Israel or Palestine. Forget about what it is. The idea that people could be stuck, born stuck in this spot and really have no recourse and nowhere to go, and just be thought of by people that live just a few miles away from you, that you're subhuman.
And stuff. After being there, man, holy shit. I feel like people have no idea I didn't even know what the hell was going on until I went to Palestine and saw how crazy it was. But
what is it like? Give me your thoughts on your
So
experience.
Everyone mistakenly thinks that Hamas controls Palestine. That's not true at all. There's 3 different areas that were drawn up with the original partition. It's the West Bank, which is totally under military rule by Israel, and then there's the Gaza Strip, which is like the open air prison, which they bomb the shit out of like every couple of years, and Hamas controls that area. And then there's Jerusalem, which is an international city center that both Arabs and Jews live in. But the West Bank has been occupied militarily since 1967, and it's complete martial law. There's checkpoints. All political parties are illegal. You can't. Having a gun is like the least of it. You can't hold a flag. You can't belong to a political party. You literally can't do shit if you're a Palestinian. You just have to sit there and submit. And even if you share a photo of someone who was like killed by an Israeli soldier, you go to jail. And you go to jail for the amount of like months that...
What?
Yeah. Based on the shares and likes of the photo, they'll penalize you more and put you in prison for longer and longer. I mean, I'll just tell you one story.
If you put a photo on social media, like you put
of someone who died, and they'll be like, you're sharing a martyr and inciting people to like commit suicide. Like on behalf of Palestinians, you go to jail, and they put them in jail. There's 99.7% conviction rate. They have a policy called to cripple, where they shoot guys in the dicks. Yeah. It is fucking nuts, man. The West Bank is no joke. I thought that I was gonna die several times. We were at this checkpoint going through Calandia, and there was this old man walking, like clearly drunk or something, and kind of like walking a little bit toward the checkpoint. They're shooting at him. Bullets are ricocheting off the thing. And my partner Mike, who was an invading soldier of Iraq, was just like, we're gonna die. Like, they're shooting this guy, there's bullets ricocheting. It was absolutely insane. And as we go through the checkpoint, the soldier's like, hey, stay safe out there. And I couldn't even get into Gaza. We were banned from going into this territory because I was told by the Israeli government that I was a propagandist and that I was like an enemy agent. And so I wasn't allowed to go into Gaza. So Gaza's hell, but the West Bank is under martial law and everything's illegal and you can't do a goddamn thing. And it's super cool. Like, we went to this place called Ramallah that was just like Oakland, where they're smoking weed. There's like openly gay people there. Like, it's just completely different than what people think.
They be equal to Jews?
No, not in my opinion. I don't deny democratic principles. I just say that they have to yield, the yield sign, to Zionist Jewish principles first.
So this is the reason I'm supposed to hate this Chinese app so much.